Mary Kay Andrews compared today's author with Dorothea Benton Frank and Anne Rivers Seidens. And I'm not going to lie, I'm so jealous. I would love to be compared to those two women. Those are great authors. It's music to my ears as a fan of both authors that I cannot wait to get to know Grace Helena Walz in today's Author's Note. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm so excited to read this. I've just kind of dived in a little bit to start, but really Southern Charm and Steel Magnolias, kind of an amazing combo. So first off, did you grow up reading kind of the Southern novel when you were, kind of coming up before you wrote your books?
I actually didn't find Southern fiction so much until I was slightly older. So it was after I had my first child that I was really getting back into reading routinely. And I found Dorothea Benton Frank's books and I absolutely fell in love. And I read one and I was totally hooked. And so I went out and found her backlist and I really kind of read everything I could find. I soaked it all in. And at that point, I was a massive Southern fiction fan. And so then a few years later, when I decided that I wanted to, take my own try at writing fiction, I knew that was the style or the genre that I wanted to write in.
Well, I have the same exact experience with Dorothea Benton Frank, except for I was reading them when they were coming out because I'm kind of old. All right. So talking about your background, though, social work background, how did you kind of decide that I want to make this leap into writing novels? I love to hear how people get into it.
Yeah, so, I have heard many authors say that, they were told from a very young age that they were destined to be an author or a writer of some kind. And I don't have that story. And so it's been this kind of unexpected opportunity that I'm just so thrilled and excited to have. The social work job that I was doing before I had children was just very emotionally demanding. And so when I had children, I decided to take a step back from that. And before long, I've always been a creative person. I love to make things, to craft, to try my hand at any type of art that was accessible to me. And I had a thought, oh, what if I tried to write a book? And in some ways, it kind of felt like an impossible task, which kind of set a fire in me of a challenge. I felt like a challenge that I wanted to give a good old try to. And so once I started writing, I just fell in love with it and I couldn't stop. And from there, I knew that whether or not I could make a career out of it, it was something that I planned to keep doing either way. And so, really my social work experience as well, just all of that time spent getting to know people and listening to their stories and their point of view and their thoughts and feelings has really helped me, actually, surprisingly, in building characters and stories.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into Good Hair Days, which, by the way, you won the cover lottery. It is really cool. But a modern twist on Steel Magnolias. Tell us about the main characters, Georgie and Junie.
Yes, so Georgia is the older sister and Junie is the younger sister. And Georgia kind of fills the role of the typical oldest child. So she is responsible and reliable and she's kind of a go-getter. And the family really kind of relies on her to play that role for all of them. And now Junie is the younger sister, and she's much more up in the clouds. She is a little bit impulsive. And so when the story opens, she has actually rushed in on a renovation for their family beauty shop named June's Beauty that's been passed down from generation to generation. And Georgia returns home to help save the day, as she always does. And so the sisters team up with their maternal aunts. Their mother has passed, and they kind of set off on this series of fun hijinks, money-making schemes to save their family business. And then as well in this story, the younger sister, Junie, gets diagnosed with a life-altering medical illness. And at that point, the women really have to dig deep and be honest with each other and rely on the deep love between them. So we're calling it a modern twist on Steel Magnolias meets Hello Beautiful. So there's kind of the sweet and the salty to it as well. It's a bit of a swirl.
I like that. I like a lot of that. So I heard that an actual visit to a salon sort of inspired you, gave you the kernel to start. Talk about that story.
Yeah, so I went to this salon that was run by two friends, and they spoke so much to each other, like as if they were sisters. And it really, that was the light bulb moment for me where I thought to myself, oh my goodness, how fun would it be to write a family-run beauty shop, and especially one run by sisters. I have a sister myself, so I know what a sister relationship is like, and I adore my sister, much like the sisters in the book adore one another. And then, of course, there's Steel Magnolias, which any, Southerner with that type of interest in media is a fan of, or at least knows of, that it was just kind of irresistible to me at that point that I thought, let's run with it. When we have spaces like hair salons, there's kind of a sacredness to it, and the types of conversations that happen in those spaces are special and sometimes they're sneaky. But I just thought that was such a fun jumping off point for a big story.
How do you hope, I ask this to a lot of the authors that I interview, but how do you hope that readers feel when they're reading Good Hair Days or when they're done reading one of your books?
Mhm. So, Good Hair Days is a bit of a tearjerker. So, for all the readers out there, bring your tissues. But it's also, there's a lot of humor, there's a lot of heart. These women have big hair, they have big hearts, and they are a ton of fun, but they also go through some really hard things. So, what I would really hope that a reader would take away at the end is that even in the most difficult times, there is joy to be found, and that family, the love of family, whether it's one that you're born into or one that you create on your own, can really be a force strong enough to pull us through in the hardest times.
I love that. All right, so I want to let everyone know it is out November 11th, wherever books are sold. I'm going to hold it up here so y'all can see it again. Follow Grace Walz author on Facebook. Is Facebook or Instagram? Where are you on the most, so we can make sure we follow you on the account you like to post a lot on?
Yes, so Instagram is my most active
Okay,
account, and my handle there is Grace Helena Books.
perfect. I just followed, and you guys should too. You're going to love this book. Thanks for joining us on Author's Note.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, after the break, two HGTV stars are helping us stay close with our neighbors this Thanksgiving. Wait till you see this. That's